Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
So we haven't started Shabbat yet. It's not till we light the candles, and it's been a very dark time. And we got together as a team of rabbis and cantors, and we were discussing about tonight, and it really is it feels like a darker week among many dark weeks. And we know that other hostages have died. We know other Palestinians have died. And we haven't done this before, and we just really made a concerted effort that tonight we wanted to focus in on the 6 hostages that were executed. Because oftentimes we focus as humans on the very end. But in Judaism, we don't just focus on the end, we reverse it. And we look a little bit earlier about how people lived their lives. There's a teaching from Rabbi Eddie Feinstein where he points out that when a Torah is written, when you handwrite a Torah, there are 5,845 verses in the entire Torah scroll, which is 304,805 individual handwritten Hebrew letters. And if one letter is missing, the Torah is considered pasul. You cannot use that Torah. In Judaism, we view people as Torahs, each one of us. We all look different. We all see the world differently. And part of what we're doing while we're on this planet in this form that we're in is trying to figure out, what do we need to teach? What do we need to do to shift the world from where it is today to a little bit closer to where it ought to be? And so tonight, a lot of us, we come here in grief and in pain. This one hit me harder than any time since October 7th. And it might have been because I spent time with Hirsch's mom this summer, and so it was very personal for me. But what we're going to try to do is actually, when you look at this program you have here, and we've all seen the 6 faces, is that we're going to try to, by the time we get to the end of the service, teach the Torah of all 6 of these individuals. See, what did they do with their lives, and how did they take their time here and to bring some light, and to share the Torah of who they were with all of us as a community.
Almos Sarusi played the guitar. There's a beautiful picture online of Almog Sarusi. He sits happily with his shirt off and his guitar strapped over his shoulder, smiling broadly in front of lush greenery. Almog attended the Nova Festival with his girlfriend, Shachar. They attempted to escape. After Shachar was shot, Almog refused to leave her side. He was captured. And Almog spent 331 days in captivity until he was murdered. Throughout captivity, Almog never knew that Shachar had ultimately been executed on October 7th. Mizmor LeDavid, a psalm of David. Almog Sarusi played the guitar. King David played the harp. Almog Sarusi danced at the Nova Music Festival, along with his love, Shachar, and so many other music lovers, all dancing together for one purpose: peace. In 2 Samuel 6:14, we read that King David also danced before God. As it is written, David whirled with all his might before Adonai. Tonight, we sing this Mizmor LeDavid, this Psalm of David. We sing it with Almag. We sing it with Shachar. And we pray that all of us will one day dance again together.
Ori Danino. And so if you look, he's the very bottom center picture here. So Ori, as I was learning about him this week, I was reminded that oftentimes, I mean, all the parents here know this, your kids all remember what you do, not what you actually say. Those are the things that stick in their minds. And because oftentimes the reason why people remember that is because it actually defines who you are and how you live in the universe. It was Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, "We believe what we do. We don't do what we believe." Ori jumped in his car from the Nova Music Festival, fled away and saved a bunch of friends' lives, and then realized he met other people at the festival, had them get out of the car, saved them, and turned. And after everything he had seen, he couldn't control himself. And he turned his car around and he went straight back to save more people. And that is when he was captured. And oftentimes, when we think about angels, I think we oftentimes envision those big beings with the big wings. But Occam's razor teaches us that it's usually the simplest answer. It's not actually something out there. It's usually just sitting right around us. We just have to be able to see it. An angel is a person who cannot control themselves because they're so compelled to help others, to care for others, to lift people up, even in the face of what's happening on October 7th. He couldn't control it. And so when we move into Shalom Aleichem, we sing about angels. And at least for me, I always think about an angel kind of coming on one shoulder and the other, maybe lifting me up. But I think it's a reminder this week, is that Ori's Torah was about the angels being inside of us. And to think about what do we need to do in our own lives, in our own society, in our own world, where you just can't help yourself, but you're compelled to make the world better and to care for others. We're on page 20 for Shalom Aleichem as we bring in the angels. Hirsch Goldberg Pullen. I was with his mother this summer. She came and met with us with a bunch of rabbis. And we spent about an hour talking together. And at the end, she talked about how people would ask, how would you sum up Hirsch in one word? And she goes, that is the dumbest question. But, it might be a dumb question, but I've thought about it all year. And she goes, if I had to sum him up in one word, he lived his life with respect. And he goes, listen, I know him as a mom. I don't know about friends or anything else, but I know him as a mom. And he was incredibly respectful. She said, a few years ago, he sat his parents down and he said, listen, and it's an Orthodox family. And he said, I'm not going to keep Shabbat anymore. Now, this family made Aliyah. You can imagine how happy they were about that. But, as their mouth, was dropping to the floor, but I'm always going to respect you. And she's thinking, well, what does this mean? You're going to respect us. You're not going to keep Shabbat. What is this going to look like? He goes, you'll see. And then she realized some time went by that any time that she saw Hirsch, he always had his yarmulke on. He would meet her in the grocery store. There was the yarmulke. When they were at home, even when he was in another room, she could hear the swishing of him washing his hands. And she said to him, why? Why are you doing this? You're not religious anymore. Why do I see you with the yarmulke on? He goes, well, Mama, that's what he calls her, Mama. When you put a yarmulke on, the reason you have it on is so you remember there's something above you. And you're above me. And so when I'm in your house, I'm always going to wash my hands. And then she goes, okay, that's amazing. But I really got to ask you a question. Because services are kind of boring. Okay, Shabbat, maybe, okay. But Yom Kippur? I mean, Yom Kippur is long. You know, ours maybe starts at like 10 a.m., I think. In Jerusalem, you're starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. And you are there the entire day without leaving the pew. And she goes, why are you there all day long? And he said without a pause, I go there so Dada doesn't have to sit alone. Which is a more painful statement now. His Torah portion for his bar mitzvah was the 10 Commandments, where it says, honor your mother and your father. And he's a person that even as he was figuring out who he was in the universe, he never lost sight of the way he was supposed to treat others. And so tonight, as we move into Ahava Rabbah, we put this right here, Ahavat Olam. Because in Judaism, love, it's very different than how we think about love in an American society. Usually when I talk about love in an American society, it's about swelling emotions and how you feel. Not in Judaism. In Judaism, love is action. Love is not how you feel, but it's by what you do. Every time we read a blessing about love, you'll see it lists, we know we're loved because we're able to do things. The way that Hirsch showed his love in the world was by respecting his parents and by doing things. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
I'd now like to remember Alexander Lobanov. Alexander Lobanov lived in Ashkelon in the south of Israel, and his family were immigrants from Russia. And so his family called him affectionately, as many Alexanders in the Russian community are known, as Sasha. And I'm struck by the large Russian-speaking community that's right here in the Richmond. And I'm reminded that he could have been one of us, one of our neighbors. Sasha was head barman the night of the Nova Music Festival. You can imagine the type of person that comes to be a head barman at a music festival, someone who loves partying and loves socializing, and whether you're drinking a mixed alcoholic drink or water or whatever he was serving you, I can only imagine that he was someone who was there to help everyone get in the mindset of this peaceful, this joyful musical festival. Sasha left behind 2 children under the age of 2. His 2-year-old is named Tom, and his 5-month-old, who was born when he was in captivity, never got to meet, is named Kai. He leaves behind his widow, Michal, who spoke very powerfully in a eulogy about the freedom that he loved. And so we remember Sasha and the life that he brought into the world and the life that he leaves behind for his family and for us to pick up the pieces and carry on with. We take a pause for a deep breath and Shema, which can be found on page 32. Carmel Gat. There is a custom in a house of mourning to teach Torah according to a Mishnah that begins with the same letter as the name of the person that you're remembering. So I consulted the Mishnahs that are arranged alphabetically, and I found one Mishnah that begins with the same letter as Carmel's name, which starts with a kaf. The Mishnah begins, Ketzad mevarchin al haperot, which is a Mishnah that discusses all the different ways that you are meant to bless the fruits of this world. There's a blessing for apples, there's a blessing for grapes, there's a blessing for fruit of the ground, fruit of the trees. And so as I was considering this rabbinic explanation of all the different blessings, I considered how Carmel brought so much blessing over the fruit of her teaching, yoga. In captivity, out in the world as an occupational therapist, the way that people that she never even knew are teaching yoga in her honor in or near Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, showing that the fruit of Carmel's labor goes way beyond the source and will spread, as fruit and their seeds tend to do, far and wide. And we all have the opportunity to pick up a piece of that fruit, whether it's in yoga, whether it's in kindness, whether it's in enjoying and blessing a piece of fruit. It's in that spirit that we remember Carmel.
Eden Yerushalmi was the sandwich sister, in between her older sister Shani and little sister Mai. The 24-year-old's two sisters describe her as always the life of the party, someone who lives life to the fullest. Her name, Eden, has its roots in the Garden of Eden, but Eden can also be translated into English as luxury or dainty or delight. And Eden was a delight. Shani and Mai share how she was always full of joy and silliness, laughing and giggling while she danced, filmed TikToks, or rode her motorcycle around Tel Aviv. Eden's name might make us think of a distant past, that primordial Garden of Eden. But Eden's joy and delight for life can be a beacon, a charge for us to bring her laughter back to all of the Jewish people. At Havdalah, it is traditional to sing this line from the book of Esther. La Yehudim haita ora v'simcha v'sason v'ikar. For the Jews, there was light and joy, rejoicing and precious delights. May it be so soon for us. In Eden Yerushalmi's memory, and in determination to make it so for all people, we join together to sing these words in the middle of page 99.